Concerns for social grant recipients as CPS claim they have not received money to pay grants for June.
They can continue working together. They've made it clear to us.
And SuperSport backtrack on their comments about Ashwin Willemse, Nick Mallet and Nas Botha by setting up an independent inquiry into that incident. Very good evening. This is eNews at 8. I'm Tony Ndoro. In our top story, SASSA says it is yet to receive an invoice from Paymaster Services. That's after CPS told the Constitutional Court that they won't be able to help distribute cash social grants from June unless they receive more money. The company's lawyers report that CPS has not been paid since the 1st of April. Now, CPS representatives have written to Chief Justice Mogoeng over money. In March, the Constitutional Court granted a 6-month extension for CPS to continue paying social grants. The court ruled CPS could write to the National Treasury to negotiate the cost of that service. CPS Director Nunta Kumarin Pillay has told the court that the company's cash reserves will last until the end of May. The letter to Chief Justice Mogoeng asserts that since April, CPS has received no payments from either SASSA or National Treasury. The agency's spokesperson Paseka Letsatsi spoke to us.
Remember, the Concord made an order that this current contract must be implemented as it is, meaning the terms and the conditions are the same. However, the Concord said if there has to be an increase which is requested by the CPS, there must be an interaction between CPS and National Treasury, of which the recommendation must go to Concord. That process, Braden, is taking place. However, as an organization, we cannot pay CPS any amount of money which is outside the order which was given to us by the Concord. So we know that there are those particular interactions between CPS and National Treasury. And as an organization, all that we are waiting for is for the Concord to tell us what is the decision which they are taking, and we will implement it as it is. However, Brandon, what I need to mention is that as we speak now, the South African Social Security Agency has not received an invoice from CPS.
Now, SuperSport presenters Ashwin Willemse, Nick Mallet and Nas Botha have been taken off air until the incident involving them has been resolved. None of them have been suspended so far. Now, SuperSport says despite making good progress with discussions concerning all parties, the matter has still not been settled. It's now appointed Advocate Vincent Maleka to chair a review of that incident. Last Saturday, Willemse walked off set during a live broadcast following the Super Rugby game between the Lions and the Brumbies. The incident has highlighted race relations in the workplace. This comes 4 days after MultiChoice's CEO assured viewers the trio would appear on screen this weekend.
The positive thing that came out of this discussion is that everybody was courteous. We didn't pick up that the people are people that can't work together. I think they will continue to work together, and they are prepared to work together. From today's discussion, it's very clear they can continue working together. They've made it clear to us.
Now, the Hawks has confirmed it is investigating SARS boss Tom Moyane. The elite crime-fighting unit is focusing on suspicious transaction of Moyane's chief officer for business and individual tax at the Revenue Service, Jonas Makwakwa. Moyane was obligated to report the irregular deposits into Makwakwa's account. He is also facing internal disciplinary charges relating to the gross mishandling of the 2016 Financial Intelligence Report, which flagged Makwakwa's dishonesty. Moyane is the first head of SARS since 1994 to face disciplinary charges. President Cyril Ramaphosa has authorized the Special Investigating Unit to probe a number of government departments and municipalities. This includes irregularities relating to procurement, improper or unlawful conduct by employees, and unlawful appropriation. Among the entities under investigation are the KwaZulu-Natal Departments of Public Works and Transport, various Eastern Cape institutions, as well as the Buffalo City and Nelson Mandela Bay metros. The unit will also be looking into provincial treasury departments. The land expropriation debate took an interesting turn in Cape Town today. NEC member Ronald Lamola met with real estate agents to thrash out the ruling party's plans to expropriate land without compensation. Lamola says government will forge ahead with this policy.
Speaking by invitation of Greef Christie's International Realty, Ronald Lamola reiterates government's plans to expropriate land without compensation for redistribution. It's a highly contentious and emotive issue. Something Lamola says needs to be discussed in open forums to avoid crossed wires.
The property owners, we have seen some of them going around the world and missing the Afro forums, thinking that they are going to badmouth the country, disinvestment and so forth. It's not helpful. Let's all sit on the table, debate and discuss how Project South Africa must look like.
The talk is part of the quarterly sales meeting of the property group. Its owner, Mike Greef, says the industry can benefit from such dialogue.
We are very lucky that we've been given this opportunity to have him here, because our agents at Greef Christie's International need to be informed and at the cutting edge of real estate and what's going on. He came up with some very sensible debates which are going to happen in the country, and we're hoping that that's going to be a fantastic resolution. He believes in communicating.
Government is expected to expedite plans to finalise the expropriation bill, but not before its constitutionality is tested. Leanne Jansen, Cape Town.
The head of security for the Ekurhuleni municipality is working on a plan to protect the province's auditing staff. On Tuesday, a team from the KwaZulu-Natal Auditor General's office stopped work after they reportedly received death threats. Erin Bates has more.
Apparently threatened on the job, raising questions about what exactly they know and who might want it buried. The reported death threats against staff in the KwaZulu-Natal Auditor General's office have made headlines. A member of the auditing team reportedly received a threatening phone call at work. This has been confirmed by eThekwini Mayor Zandile Gumede. But Gumede failed to provide further details about the call or on other similar incidents.
We are intensifying the fight against fraud and corruption in the city. Let me highlight some of the recent achievements since under this administration. As the mayor of eThekwini, I will always put my foot down in issues of crime and corruption.
Soon after the phone call, staff downed tools and left the premises. The city manager insists it's business as usual.
We are not going to be threatened by anybody in doing this kind of work. We are going to be providing the security, security coming from the municipality, and also the security by the Auditor General themselves.
Neither Gumede nor Nzuza would say what the work entailed. However, the mayor did indicate it was not an investigation and not politically sensitive. Security is set to be beefed up for the auditing team and municipal workers. But it's expected regular work in the Office of the Auditor General will resume only sometime next week. Erin Bates, Johannesburg.
Okay, coming up after this quick break, as the continent and the world celebrate Africa Day, millions on the continent still live in poverty. Stay with us. Welcome back. Now, consumers who purchased SA Express tickets will now need to fly either SAA, SA Airlink or Mango Airlines. This comes after the Civil Aviation Authority grounded the airline due to safety issues. SA Express is also under severe financial pressure. The airline will have a tough job in the coming months to prove it is still worthy to fly. Heidi Jokos brings us more.
It may take months before SA Express planes are allowed to fly again. The South African Civil Aviation Authority grounded 9 out of the 21 aircrafts due to serious safety concerns. The authority says the process of becoming airworthy again is just like the same process for a new airline. But what went wrong?
In the last 3 weeks, they had in-flight engine shutdowns. We asked them to prove to us what have they done, and we could find nothing that they've done in order to remedy or investigate the occurrence itself. They've lost a significant number of personnel. Several of the aircraft are on the ground because they didn't have a space to maintain those aircraft.
SAA has now stepped in and will take on SA Express's passengers.
What is important for us is to join hands as partner airlines and assist SA Express. The flights have been put in place. We should be able to operate. We should be able to update information, and there is no reason for them to panic.
Public Enterprises Minister Praveen Gordhan revealed on Thursday that the embattled carrier paid over 5.7 million rand to the Gupta-linked Trillion Capital without following due processes. The airline has seen a number of leadership challenges, including engineers, technicians and pilots, resulting in serious technical issues. Heidi Jakos, Kempton Park.
Is the African Union vocal enough in fighting challenges on the continent? Today marks 55 years since the founding of the Organization of African Unity, the predecessor to the African Union. Now, Africa Day commemorates Africa's independence, its freedom and liberation. But Africans remain amongst the poorest people in the world.
The Organization of African Unity was founded on the 25th of May, 1963 in Addis Ababa, Ethiopia. 38 years later, it evolved into the African Union. South Africa became part of the OAU in 1994 following the end of apartheid rule. In 2012, Nkosazana Dlamini-Zuma was elected its chairperson. 55 years since the formation of the organization, the question that remains to be answered is whether the AU is doing enough to elevate the continent. Professor Cheryl Hendricks from the University of Johannesburg says African leaders who refuse to relinquish power are moving the continent backwards.
From 2015, however, we saw Rwanda extending term limits, we saw Congo extending term limits, last week we saw Burundi extending term limits. We've also had Togo, Guinea, Chad, Cameroon.
Africa is home to at least 1 billion people, with many living below the breadline. Slavery and terrorism are also a challenge. Speaking at an Africa Day celebration in Pretoria, President Cyril Ramaphosa said the country would use its position on the UN Security Council to unify the continent.
We aim to use this opportunity succeed to promote peace and security in the world, and more specifically in Africa, where most of the world's conflicts are located. As in its previous 2 terms on the UN Security Council, South Africa will place emphasis on African Union, UN cooperation.
This year, Africa Day is celebrated under the theme Accelerating Youth Empowerment for Sustainable Development.
Hollywood mogul Harvey Weinstein has been charged with rape and other sexual abuse involving 2 women. He's denying a non-consensual sex with anyone. The allegations triggered the #MeToo movement, which seeks to highlight the widespread prevalence of sexual abuse and harassment. Reports suggest that Weinstein will be charged with 1st and 3rd degree rape in one case and 1st degree sex act in a second case. Well, let's take you through our headlines for tonight. Concerns for social grant recipients as CPS claim they have not received money to pay grants for June. And SuperSport backtrack on their comments about Ashwin Willemse, Nick Mallet and Nas Botha by setting up an independent inquiry into the incident. Coming up after the break, we bring you sports news, and South Africa's Kevin Anderson could face world #1 Rafael Nadal in the French Open quarterfinals. We'll bring you the details. Stay with us.
Good evening, everyone, and welcome to the Weather Centre. A cold front passing over the southern parts of the country brought cool conditions to the region, as well as showers all across the southern coastline, in particular around Port Elizabeth, where it was a cloudy and wet day. Heading into Saturday, that front makes its way out to the east of the country. We still expect showers to develop along the Eastern Cape coastal belt, while much of the rest of the country will be clear and dry, but later on in the day it becomes cloudy into parts of KwaZulu-Natal, and there could be some evening drizzle for parts of that province. The Northern Cape, on the other hand, can expect a sunny Saturday. It is going to be a chilly morning over the province, but not too bad in the afternoon for most areas. A lovely day expected for the Western Cape. Temperatures climbing into the low 20s, but for Vredendal, a maximum of 26 degrees is expected. The Eastern Cape stays quite cool with showers for the coastline. Port Elizabeth, though, you are expected to dry up. Aliwal North starting off with an overnight low of 0 degrees Celsius. In KwaZulu-Natal, most of the day will be dry, but as we've seen, by evening there could be drizzle pushing in for some areas. And in Mpumalanga, it's going to be a dry Saturday, slightly cooler for some areas, but still temperatures should at least get to 20 degrees for the afternoon. And if you're looking for warm weather, Limpopo is the place to be, upper 20s and even the low 30s in the forecast over this area. While in the northwest, it's going to be a frosty morning for some areas in the south as temperatures are getting closer to 0 degrees. Heading into the Free State, where we see similar conditions in this province, it's going to be a sunny day all across the area. Bloemfontein gets to 22. And for Johannesburg, you can expect an afternoon high of 24 degrees Celsius after a starting temperature of 9. Moving ahead to your conditions for Sunday, and we are expecting showers and perhaps even thunderstorms for parts of KwaZulu-Natal, while it's going to be a sunny day for the Free State as well as the Eastern Cape. And on Monday, a strong cold front will be making landfall over the western parts, bringing a drop in temperature and wet conditions. That's all from the Weather Centre. Goodbye for now.
South Africa has won gold at the prestigious Chelsea Flower Show in London. The country showcased its natural beauty and diversity in the Kirstenbosch exhibit. It's South Africa's 36th gold medal at the show. We spoke to one of the designers of the exhibit.
A big honor for us. We were a bit nervous at times, but I guess I hope we made South Africa proud again. This year's theme for the garden was iconic landscapes. It's where we fuse together South African flora, which we have such an enormous diversity of, and cultural aspects of it too. So we mix the people and the plants together, and the public absolutely loves it. Yeah, so it's a quick trip around South Africa. So we start in Kirstenbosch, and the Fynbos part of South Africa, which is a very it's a very unique part of the world and a very small part of the world, and those plants only occur there. So we start there and focus on that, with the backdrop of Table Mountain, and then we move up to the west coast, which at the moment is starting to flower with all the Namaqualand flowers, and that we showcase too, more of a diversity in climates too. And then we move up to the northern parts of South Africa, the more bushveld plants, the more harsher and thorny plants. So it's a quick overview of the country.
Well, let's bring you a recap of our main stories this evening. Concerns for social grant recipients as CPS claim they've not received money to pay grants for June.
They can continue working together.
SuperSport backtrack on their comments about Ashwin Willemse, Nick Mallet and Nas Botha by setting up an independent inquiry into the incident. And that's it from myself and the team for tonight. We're back tomorrow evening at 7 p.m. Good night.